If we could make the world pain-free, we would not be happy, right? It is not enough. Living a pain-free life would not satisfy what is most deep in our own desires and longing. It's not pain that is wrong with the world, but it's fundamentally pride. Lewis develops this sense of pride drawing upon Augustine and also Aquinas. He writes, "From the moment a creature becomes aware of God as God and of itself as self, the terrible alternative of choosing God or self for the creature is open to it." So we want to imagine this moment that I really become aware of myself as self. Aquinas would talk about this with the age of reason. I have that moment in which I also recognize there's something greater than myself. And I choose at that moment either to make myself or that which is greater than myself as my final end. And due to pride, we always choose the ego, right? Fundamentally, it's our ego that rules. I always remember somebody described ego, right? E-G-O. It edges God out of the picture. Right? When we're in the picture, we can't see the picture. And unfortunately, when we're in the world, in a way, our own suffering, our own frustrations kind of begin to block out God, block out other people. Right? This, in a way, is the problem of being human. This, in a way, is the problem, the wound, the bent nature that needs to be corrected, that God's goodness needs to correct. So what Lewis says this is then the thesis, in a way, is simply that man as a species has spoiled himself. Therefore, good to us in our present state must be, therefore, primarily remedial or corrective good. Okay. So what then is the good that is in a way proper to a creature? He says, well, the good proper to a creature is to surrender itself to the Creator. The moment we discover ourselves, as creatures who are not self-subsistent, self-existent, we recognize we've been created, and our first thought should be, thank you, right? Thank you, Lord, for creating me. Thank you, Lord. You alone are my hope, my joy. There's a beautiful line in Psalm 118, right? This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice in it and be glad. How often, in a way, is that not our attitude, right? How often is why, right? Why did you make me? Why is this day going this way? There's that expression, right? I didn't sign up for this, right? Well, that's a very understandable attitude, an understanding of resentment, annoyance, irritability, right? All of these, but these in a way are because we're trapped within ourselves. So what Lewis suggests then is that because we're in a state now where we ought to render thanks to God, to surrender ourselves to God as creatures, but instead we kind of close in upon ourselves. Lewis wrote a preface to Paradise Lost, Milton's great work, his retelling of Genesis, creation and fall. And in there at one point, the character Satan is in an argument with another angel who says it's right to obey God. And he says, why should we obey God? How do we even know we were created? How do we know God is better than we are? And in a way, this is kind of the illusion of sin, right? The illusion of the ego that thinks in a way it is the center of the universe. And so what Lewis suggests then is that pain somehow is capable of kind of uniquely kind of popping that bubble of letting us, of kind of breaking into our delusion that we are the center of the universe. Lewis writes this: God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks to us in our conscience, but he shouts to us in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world.